I want to thank African professional associations for really putting this incredible event together. Thank you. So, you know, they told me that I did everything they told me that would make me successful. So, I got the degrees, I did the late nights, but I also said yes when it should have been a no. Oh, I feel like I've lost everybody here. Thank you. There's a chair there. I ended up spending quite a bit of my income, thousands of dollars, to study an equivalent of a mini MBA in America. I was studying late nights, I was doing a full-time job, and raising a very, very young family. And in fact, I was leading a transformation across Perth and Melbourne at this point. I was doing it all. So I went up to my executive and I said, I want a promotion. I want that seat at the table. And he turned to me, he looked me straight in the eye, and he told me, Pramila, we don't have leaders that look like you. I was shocked. It felt like a punch in my face. He told me I couldn't take a bet on you. I can't risk my career by helping you. And I was sitting there, really in shock. And then I said, okay, you know, you're an executive leader. I have helped you. I have helped to deliver your successful strategic projects. I have helped you to look good. In fact, I solved this massive program that was keeping the CEO and the board awake at night. You know, how can you not take a bet on me? Why wouldn't you put your career on the line for me? All because I don't look like a leader that they are used to, right? And that's when I realized that it wasn't really about merit, it was about visibility, right? But then one woman, a white women ally, she took me under her wings and she taught me that it's not, my diversity wasn't my disadvantage. It wasn't something that I should be ashamed of. It wasn't something that I had to hide. It was my leverage point. And on that day, I stopped asking for permission to lead. I just had. You know, I'm just going to ask for a show of hands. How many of you in this room have been told, oh, go collect more qualifications, and you see other people being promoted with far less credentials than you? How many? We've all experienced this, right? How many of you have been taught or told, work harder, but you haven't been taught how to network or how to speak to senior leaders? Yeah? In fact, a tough one. How many of you have been told subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, that we don't have leaders that look like you? Yeah? We've all experienced that. And last but not least, we're actually kept really busy, big doers, and excellent executors, but not shown how to become a decision maker. Right? I've experienced that as well. And, sorry, I should have changed the slides along with me. And you know what? We're not alone on this journey. There is data now that 92% of women of color experience discrimination. That is literally 9 out of every 10 of us women are experiencing that. And in fact, of that, 67% have experienced some form of racism, harassment, and bullying. And yet 84% of us are told to work harder. This isn't just data. is proof that the problem exists, right? The system is broken, let's just admit it. It rewards visibility over hard work, right? While we are busy doing our work, other people are busy collecting power. But now is the time to change that game. Now is the time for us to stand strong and rooted and take up space unapologetically. But now is also the time, as we rise, we cast a net and we raise other women with us. I don't know about you, but I noticed sometimes I feel like my entire life I've been preparing for the wrong exam. You know? While I am deep in the textbooks, learning all the technical things, other people seem to be building connections and knowing what the real questions are that will come in the test. They are in those pubs making those great connections, finding those answers, while I am attending night school, getting qualifications and credentials. We're both working really hard, no denying that, right? We are working hard. But only one person seems to know what the real exam questions are. Am I right? So, what do? There is an invisible game that is being played, with invisible rules that we haven't been taught. I have gone through this journey and I've learned a few of these rules. So today I want to share these rules with you. One of the rules is mastering communication. So, when I ask them, they tell me, Camilla, we only promote people who have strong leadership skills. Truth be told, what they are telling me is communication skills. They're really not reading your resume, they're listening to your voice, right? And other people are learning to master the room. They're learning to speak clearer, louder, and they're easier to sell. So they're getting paid, right? So we keep thinking that communication skills is a nice to have, it's a soft skill. It isn't. It is a survival skill, right? Public speaking, as I'm doing, storytelling, persuasion, that executive presence of how you walk into a room, you command that room, and you ask those powerful questions. Because at the end of the day, the people that get promoted aren't the people with the highest credentials, it's the people that are believed. And you know, as us women of color, we face another challenge. If you answer back, you're seen as the angry black woman, right? Yeah. Yep, we've all experienced that. And then if you go quiet and you sit back, you're seen as the submissive brown woman, right? All of these stereotypes are speaking against us, but we can hack the system. There is a solution. And the solution is in asking powerful questions, using those as weapons, not shouting, not shrinking, but with that precision. So the next time somebody's disrespectful to us, we don't shout, we don't laugh it off, we don't blow up. We try this instead. We look them straight in the eye and we say, when you say that, did you actually mean it? And we continue to hold that gaze, but we stay silent. And we let the silence do the work. There's something interesting. Neuroscience tells us that that person will the person's brain will continue to search for the answer long after you've left the room. Right? And what will happen is that person will be confronted to face the truth without you having to sacrifice your dignity or your career. This is what mastering communication looks like. You're speaking your truth, but strategically. You don't have to master the Queen's English over here, right? But you just have to be rooted and authentic as you speak. You know, done the work. Now you're learning to own the room with some ice as well. Now you're learning to own the room where your work gets recognized and rewarded. That isn't just personality, that is power you hold. The second one is networking is not politics. Oh, by the way, I just want to ask, how many people cringe when they have to go for a networking event? Oh, we are already cringing, putting our hands up. Oh, I don't want to go there. And how many of you think politics is a dirty word? Yeah? Yeah? I thought so too. You know, they call it office politics. But if you strip away the drama, it's actually not politics. It's trust. You know, you didn't trust me because I have this amazing LinkedIn profile that I do work very hard on. You trust me because you know my story. You have met me. You felt my energy. You know of my African heritage. That is why you have invited me on this stage, right? So, some people look at networking as, oh, we're being fake. Oh, it's dirty. Oh, no, it's beneath us. Welcome. We've got one more chair over here. We'll get you that one. Come on. Don't be shy. Fantastic. Let's get comfortable over here. So the thing is, you can hold those ideas, but other people are networking openly. You know, the tradies, they network at the construction sites. The blokes, they network downstairs at the pub. You've seen those, right? The professionals, they are networking at the golf course. They are making introductions to each other. They are recommending each other. You know, they're saying their names in rooms that the other person isn't. God, that's not manipulation. That is community in action. And in fact, we want that community. But you know what? You can be that community for each other. In this room, I know of so many highly accomplished women. You can be that community and that network for each other. You have a WhatsApp group, you have coffee catch-ups, you recommend those people, you make those introductions. Because there's an equation, and the equation is this. Networking gets you into those rooms. Communication and mastering your voice helps you to climb up in those rooms. You have all done the work. If you don't build trust, then you're building somebody else's dream, right? But if you build trust, if you master that communication, you will build your own dream and career. And that's where you want to be. A last point, is we need to break that tall poppy syndrome. So, what do I mean by that? Good question. You know, basically, the system is broken, and we love talking about it. I think I'll get a bachelor's, maybe a master's degree in the rate at which I'm going, in terms of really talking about how badly the system is broken. But the other reality is sometimes we hold that knife in our own very hand. What do I mean by that? You know, when that woman gets promoted, I give her the side eye. Yeah? And then I'm like, oh, you know what, I'll undermine her second. She was just lucky. She was there at the right time, at the right place. She appeared just exactly at that moment. All of us have been here early. You know, we undermine her. Bless you. You know, when she is disrespected, we stay silent. And we're like, we're going to say, oh, she should have known better, you know? Why would she bother going there? Right? We hold back on those emails, those introductions, those recommendations, because we don't want her to succeed before us. You know, that's what I wanted for myself. Why would I help her get forward? That isn't us as a community. That's crabs in a bucket, pulling each other back. You know, when you break down one woman, what you're telling the system is that it's safe to keep us down. You know why people have privilege? But you know what they have above privilege? Is they have each other. They protect each other. They advocate for each other. They open doors for each other, right? They say their names in rooms they aren't in. I definitely want one of those allies. But you know what? We can be that ally to each other as well, right? We can make that introduction. We should have her as the next keynote speaker. We should be inviting Ruby onto the next panel. In fact, I think Angela is ready for the next promotion. She should definitely give it a chance, right? Why not? You know, we should do this when we feel envy and when it kind of hurts our ego. But we should really do this when it really hurts our ego, right? So in summary, there is an invisible game that is being played. There are invisible rules. And I have shared 3 of these rules that I have learned through a lot of mistakes and through a lot of tough experiences. But I want you to learn these rules so that you can succeed. The first one is leadership is your communication is your leadership currency. So invest in it like how you invest in an MBA or a cybersecurity degree. And networking isn't politics. Network shamelessly, but also be strategic. And as you rise, lift others. Because we either rise together or we don't rise at all. Yeah? So I have a challenge for all of you incredible women and male allies over here today, which is today, on International Women's Day, I want you to make a serious commitment to support free women. Not give them tips, not kind of go for a bitching session, not gossiping session, but to make a real introduction, right? That's what the challenge from me to you is for today's International Women's Day. I just want to share a bit. Last year, I actually slowed down to speed up. And I went back deep within myself and I said, what's happening over here? And somebody had told me, oh, you should write a book. And I was like, hell no. Can you imagine, the shame and the embarrassment of everything I've gone through and putting that into a book and putting it out there? But I did write the book. It was a little bit of like therapy journaling that I did. And at the end of the book, I got so many lessons that I published the book. And then I had quite a few women reach out to me for coffee conversations. So I created something called the Rise and Radiate program. And this is to empower women of color to go from being silenced to be seen, heard, valued, and respected. This is the only program in WA. In fact, this is the only second leadership development program in the whole of Australia. There's only one other one happening on the East Coast. So that says something. And we do have quite a few things lined up, so I just want to say I've got quite a bit of resources as a thank you that I would like to share with you. So please scan the QR code and you can reach out to me, and you'll get a copy of my book, The Unwritten Leader. And I want each and every one of you to have a digital copy of this book. I've also written a white paper on empowering women of color. We've chatted for 15 minutes, but there's so much more that I can share. So I'd love to give you a copy of this white paper as well. I had an awesome interview with Anne Ichuru. She's another fellow Kenyan lady who's now on the East Coast, and we had a fantastic chat about the challenges women of color face and how to overcome those. So I want to share that link with you. But I also want to share the brochure of the Rise and Radiate program with you, if you wish to journey with me. But last but not least, I would really like to invite each and every one of you to join us for the first ever Women of Color conference being held in Australia. And I won't be speaking at that conference, you've already heard me. But you'll be seeing these incredible women talk about their journey of going from being silenced to be seen, heard, valued, and respected. And I'm so proud of the journey that they've gone through and the accomplishments they've had. So I'd love to invite all of you to come for that event. And last but not least, I'm conscious of the timing, is why do I do this? You know, it is scary. I am putting my entire career on the line by doing this. But then I do this because if I don't do it, then what will happen to my daughters? My daughters can't be those leaders unless they see those leaders. You have to be it to see it. So my motivation is I walk through this with both courage and fear, but I do this because of my daughters. And I encourage you to take this bold step forward, to do it for yourselves, but also for the next generation. And you know what? The ceiling wasn't meant to stop us. The ceiling was meant for us to shatter together. So let's do this together. Thank you.